did a marketing executive from Buenos Aires who was studying wine at night, on weekends, and on holidays become the first Spanish-speaking woman in history to be named the world's best wine communicator? And what if the skill that makes someone so extraordinary as a sommelier is exactly what makes a musician have perfect pitch? What if you're born with it without knowing? And why would a wine student describe their wines as smelling like their grandmother? Well, tonight you're going to get those stories and tips and more. And if you're watching this video on the replay, please get into the comments and type the word replay. Let me know where you're logging in from, what's in your glass, what's the weather like. And of course, if you're here on the live stream, I want to hear from you. I'm Natalie McLean and I teach online wine and food pairing classes. And you've just joined one of the most passionate groups of wine lovers who gather every Wednesday at 7 p.m. to chat with the most interesting people in the world of wine. Now, I'm live streaming this video for the first time on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, but it's based on a recorded conversation I had with our terrific guest for my podcast, The Unreserved Wine Talk. I'll be jumping into the comments, though, on the live stream, so get in there. I want to know what questions you have, what tips you're enjoying. All right, back to our guest. Marisol de la Fuente is an international sommelier who graduated from the Argentine School of Sommeliers, a bartender who trained at the International Center of Cocktail Arts, and a journalist. She communicates about the world of wine and beverages to bring it all closer to consumers. She is also a columnist on Canal de la Suede, you can correct me, Saul, on this. I'm going to butcher these words, where she presents a different segment every week in a simple and entertaining manner. On Vinamos, her wine podcast, she answers the most common consumer questions alongside Ariel Torres, a journalist at La Nación. She also teaches her course, El Vino Sans Vuelta.
Sin vueltas.
Thank you. This is going to be a Spanish lesson, clearly, by the time we finish. In a live online format, and also works as an instructor in sommelier programs. So beyond her passion for wine, she has spent 25 years in marketing, communication, and PR in multinational companies. She is also a digital marketing lecturer and consultant for companies in the wine and beverage industry. And I'm so happy she joins us now from her home in Buenos Aires. Hello, Sol. So great to have you here with us.
Hi Natalie, hi everybody, it's a pleasure to be here, and don't worry for the Spanish because it is okay, you don't need to to say it correctly, you just did it perfectly well.
Thank you, you're being kind, but thank you. At least wine is the universal language of joy, okay. So at least when it comes to that, we're speaking on the same language.
Exactly.
Okay, so your background, Saul, is unusual for a sommelier. You have a journalism degree, a master's in marketing, and you spent over 2 decades leading communications at multinational companies like Intel and HP. So when did you decide to leave the corporate world and maybe focus on wine?
Well, a couple of years ago, to be exact, in 2015, I did a trip to Mendoza, that is a wine region here in Argentina. I've been there many times, but at that moment with my husband, we did some wine tastings during the trip, and I realized I can detect aromas and flavors. I have very interesting conversations with the winemakers, and so when I get back to Buenos Aires, I decided to study to be enologist. But you don't have that degree in Buenos Aires because we are very far away of the vineyards. So I thought, well, what else I can do, or what else I can study to be in contact with this environment and this industry. And I realized that 20 years ago I did PR for a school, the Escuela Argentina de Sommeliers, and I remember that, and I said, okay, maybe I can investigate and do some research about sommelier and try to understand what it means. Magically, it's a mix between communication and some marketing, and also to know about wine. So I decided to study. I did the career here in Argentina. This degree is a technical degree, 3 years. So I decided to do it, and I always said that I did a mix between my experience and the sommelier career, so I combine all. And at the beginning, I started working like everybody on wine tastings, fairs, and that kind of events. But I realized that the best I can do is combine, communication, marketing, wines, industry, and that kind of thing. So the story started there.
Yeah, well, you certainly have brought all your skills together in such an excellent and professional way. Now, you've also built an Instagram account at Sol Sommelier from 0 to 120,000 followers. That's amazing. Yeah, congrats. What was the maybe specific piece of content that first told you you were really resonating with your audience on Instagram?
The story started before when people, well, my friends and family and people that I know in my shop, well, they started to ask me about wines and recommendations. So I said, well, what I can do? Maybe I can speak about wines and beverage in a friendly way to explain these people that don't know and they don't need to know about wines, how to select, how to go to the supermarket. So the first couple of posts and content that I did was about that. How to select wine on the supermarket, how you can choose the best wine for a specific meeting or food. So all that content started to be very successful. So I realized that a lot of people in the Spanish speaking world was very hungry to understand, to learn, to buy better. So I decided to start the account talking about this, talking about the consumption part of the wine. I have a clear view about my audience. My audience is people that don't know about wine at all and they don't care. They just need the tips. They just need the suggestions. So I have been with the same view all these years. I started the account in 2012. No, sorry, 2020.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, because before I had my personal account, so at that moment I decided to have a specific account for wines and beverage, and I started them. So my main focus is still the same. I'm still talking for people that want to know a little bit, but they don't
Sure.
want to be experts.
Right,
So
right.
I use plain language and I try to explain in a simple way complex things. If we
Yeah,
are talking
yeah.
about, I don't know, carbonic maceration in a technical way, nobody's going to understand and
No,
nobody care.
right? It's true. It's true. So
It's
you're
true.
very practical.
Exactly.
As you say, they want the tips, they want to know which wines to buy, and you really, speak to exactly what they're looking for. So now you also co-host the Vinamos podcast with your partner or husband, Ariel Torres. You teach sommelier students, you advise Coviar, the Argentine Wine Corporation, on national communication strategy, and appear weekly on a TV show. When do you sleep? I don't think you do sleep. But what do you enjoy most about what you do? Like, is there a specific moment or part of all of that you really love the most?
I love the communication part. As you mentioned, I had a column in Canal de la Ciudad. It's a national channel here, also on radio. Now I have my own streaming show on Fridays. So I love to communicate, to think about, okay, we have this topic. How can we talk about this and make it fun and easy and share? So I love that part. Of course, when I teach, I also love when somebody say, oh, I didn't know this, and now my mind changed completely. But I love all. But the media is the part of my daily job that I love more.
That's great. Wow. Okay, so in 2014, you went on a wine tour through Mendoza with Ariel, and at Benacci Winery in San Rafael, a sommelier there said that there was one aromatic descriptor, one adjective in a white wine no one in the room could identify.
Yeah.
What did you say and what happened?
so funny because, well, this is part of the story when I decided to study sommelier or to be part of the industry, and also is in the first chapter of my book because I think it was that moment when you realize, maybe I am good at this. Because, well, in that wine tasting, the sommelier said, as you mentioned, this wine is very complex. You are not going to detect exactly what we have here. When I gonna tell you gonna tell you what it is, you are going to be totally you are going to have a total and big surprise. And I remember saying, "Oh, I feel olive oils here," and then
Wow.
some other components and smells. And she said, "Okay, yes, that is
You got
the
it.
smell." So she was nice, but at that moment I realized, okay, of course, as you know, we need to train all the smell and flavors and to identify correctly and to use that to describe a wine. But to tell you the truth, in my case, well, it was like, I can feel and I can separate, okay, this and this and this and that. And that was the kickoff for me in my decision to be part of the wine industry.
That's fairly specific. I mean, the
Yeah.
smell of olive oil,
Yeah.
I guess it's the molecule that creates the smell of olive in certain white wines.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a specific compound, if I understand correctly, that mimics that scent. But I guess, when the sommelier said, "You'll be surprised when I tell you," it was actually the sommelier who was surprised.
Yeah,
Um,
so,
yeah,
but
because that's, yeah.
sometimes today, at least in my case, when you detect something, also today I have some doubts. I'm not sure, but at that moment was so innocent because I just smell and say, "Oh, for me it's this," like
Yeah.
anyone else. Well, it's that spirit to be a student all the time, to discover
Yes.
new things and to be surprised for these new things that you discover. So,
Yes, always learning for sure.
mm-hmm.
So, your book, if I understand roughly in English, it means "Let me tell you about wine." What's the title in Spanish?
Te cuento el vino.
Okay, Te cuente
It,
vino.
it likes, let me share with you about wine.
Ah,
That will
lovely.
be the spirit,
Okay.
like
Yes.
when you tell a story, something like that.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so tell us in a nutshell what this book is about, like how it's different, say, from other wine books.
Well, my book is all about the basics of the wine. When the editorial called me, they asked me to do a book that could be sold in supermarkets, in book, bookstores, but in that part where you have the text for dummies, the
Hmm.
easy explanation for everybody, something that can give you the overall knowledge that you need to know to understand the basics. That was
Sure.
the main objective. Of course, the final result was so amazing. So I was in the book fair here, and it was sold out. And well,
Wow.
it was present. The book it was present in many other environments and places, and also in wineries. Because the book is nice, is nice with the pictures and the color and the graphics, etc. But also, it's a small book that you can read and understand
Okay.
all that you need to understand about history of wine, production of wine, and I have a big chapter about myths
Okay.
because it's something that always I use in all my communication as well. I am trying to be a myth buster, so I have a chapter about all the myths that I have been have been hearing about wine uh, in the last 10 years. So I put all of that also in the book. So if you
So
read the book,
pairings with wine, meat and wine?
yes, but also we have a lot of myths about, I don't know, if the bottle is heavy, the wine is better. If
Ah.
the cork,
Oh, right.
if you
The
use,
misconceptions
yeah,
and myths. Yes.
misconception.
Sorry.
That,
I
well,
thought you were saying
no,
meat.
it's okay,
Yeah.
it's okay. Well, we said myths or mitos in Spanish, but yes, misconception because
Okay.
it's something that people repeat
Yeah. Yes.
and spread, and everybody believe that. Nobody knows why,
Yes.
So a good example is this one. A heavy bottle has a better wine inside.
Right. They think it's more
Why?
expensive because
Yeah,
the
because it's
glass
more
is heavy. Yeah.
expensive and that kind of things. Or well, white wine give you headache.
Right.
Well, the headache is because you drink too much and you don't drink water.
It's
You
true.
know that kind of things.
Yes. Yes, because they think it's sulfites or whatever in white wine, but it's
Yeah,
such a small percentage of the population that even reacts to sulfites.
exactly.
And I've heard it said that a glass of wine has fewer sulfites than an entire jug or whatever carton of orange juice. Like there's far more sulfites in other things we eat and
Yeah,
drink than
exactly.
wine. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's part of the fermentation, a natural
Yes.
component when you have some kind of fermentation. So when you read my book, it's like, well, all the basics you need to know, well, you know.
Yes.
So
Yes,
what is
yes, yes,
wine?
absolutely. No,
Yeah.
it's great. And is there plans to have it translated into English?
Well, I had some conversations with Penguin Randall House. I know they are working on the book on Portuguese for the Brazilian
Okay.
market, and
Yeah,
maybe later for in English. But at this
sure.
moment, after a couple of years of the publication, they are working in the translation to Portuguese. To
Well, that's
well, for
great. Another
Brazil,
great
we
market.
are very close, so
Good, 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 good. Okay, so you write that wine is older than the wheel, it's older than writing, and its origins predate documented history by thousands of years. And you mentioned the fermented grape evidence comes from 6000 BCE from what is now Iraq and Iran. What was the single most surprising archaeological fact about ancient wine that you came across in your research?
well, something that is very interesting is when we talk about orange wines, for example, that now are very trendy and very old from Georgia. Well, when you realize that some things that now are very cool, like natural wines or well, these new trends that we see on the wine industry, and most of the things already happen on the past. So
Right.
naturally, as part of the process. So it's very interesting to do that connections
Yeah,
between
what's
the
old is new and it comes
yes,
around and everybody
exactly,
thinks it's the hot new trend, but it's a
exactly.
8,000-year-old trend.
Yeah, exactly. This is very interesting.
And you describe how in ancient Egypt, wine was placed in the tombs of pharaohs to demonstrate prestige, and how at the
Mm-hmm.
time it was a privilege reserved for nobles, priests, and leaders.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most direct parallel between the ancient wine culture and modern wine world that you've discovered?
Well, I think that I want to talk about Argentina because it's the place that I know
Sure.
more, the country that I know more. I know about Latin America and some places in Europe as well, but in general and in particular in Argentina, we are still talking about wine, not me, but the industry and maybe other communicators or sommeliers. We are talking about wine in a very aspirational way.
Okay.
So maybe if I have to do a connection, is well, in Egypt, they have wine. They have wine was like something very valuable and part of the processes and the well the all how do you say it in English? All the customs and not
Yeah.
custom.
Like everyday drinking rituals,
Exactly,
like it
the
wasn't a
rituals.
fancy thing.
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
rituals. Part of rituals. Once in the past, when we try to understand the story, were part of rituals. Okay.
Right.
Nowadays, sometimes, and I want to say that I don't feel that is 100% positive, but wine is still part of rituals. And these proposals that I see at least here in Argentina about wine is only for some people, and there's this wine that there are only 1,000 bottles and it's very expensive. When you see the history, when you try to understand the history, wine was always part of rituals at the beginning, religion, and then just for um, higher level people, high society people, and now it's for everybody. But we still
Sure.
have some communication and some products uh, that are very inspirational and everybody want to have, and the communication, sadly for me, in many cases is still in that way. Wine
Huh.
is exclusivity.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe that is some kind of parallel I can.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Now, you also note, have so many interesting facts in your book, but that phylloxera, the phylloxera crisis in the 19th century that nearly wiped out every vine in Europe because of a root louse, louse, a bug that used to like to eat the roots. The continent was saved by the rootstocks that had been sent to the Americas by Jesuit missionaries. So Argentina and Chile, therefore, became, in a very real sense, the rescue supply chain for European wine. Which is amazing. And then in turn, rootstock that was taken over from Europe and planted in the two countries, the phylloxera didn't have an easy go of it. Why was that?
Well, why is a very good question. What I describe is the story, the history. I think that in Latin America, well, we have had the colonization from Spain mainly. So wine in Spain was very important at the moment. It's very important at this time. So um, I imagine they bring with them the wines and the vineyard and the plants and everything. So I believe when the phylloxera happened, they needed to track how we can save the vineyard, or how we can save the production, where we can find the correct plants and wherever, and of course where the Spanish people was at that moment, they found what they need. But I don't have a why or an answer for the why. I know that is part of the story.
Sure.
When we describe that here in Argentina, we always say, well, uh, the colonization bring to Argentina the vines, but at the same time, when they have a problem, we send it back and we save the wine in Europe in the old war, and so we are very connected with the old war.
Yeah.
Also, when you think about the wine industry in Argentina, the wines that had been producing here until the decade of 90, 90, 1992, 93, etc.
Okay.
The wines here were like the Spanish wines.
Ah, right,
So
in
we have a
style.
huge
Yeah.
impact of the culture and the immigration, the different immigrations through the history, and the original styles that we used to produce here were very Spanish style.
Huh. Okay, that's interesting. Now, you also talk about a producer in Patagonia who experienced 30 frosts in a single month of ripening. And we have to keep in mind, like for us in the northern hemisphere, that the farther you go south in the southern hemisphere, the colder it gets, and your harvests are reversed from ours, more like March, April. So he was farming at 43 degrees south latitude with winds, extreme temperature swings, -4 degrees Celsius sometimes. What kind of wine does those conditions produce?
Well,
And does it, do you have to be crazy to farm in those conditions?
yeah. Well, first I have to say that we have the highest vineyards on the world, 3,000 meters over the level of the sea in the north of the country.
Right, the mountainous plantings,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. In Salta state, or Salta provincia de Salta, and we have the more australes, the vineyards in the south, as you mentioned, are the southest vineyards on the world.
Okay.
And the climate conditions in all these places, we have 24 states in Argentina, and we produce wine in 18. So
Wow.
you have all the climates, all the altitudes, you have everything. In the south, in this example that you mentioned it before, that happened in the Chubut provincia, Chubut state. And the, the wine there is very elegant and very fresh. Why?
Huh.
Because
Crisp.
you have huge difference between day and night terms of temperature.
Which
But
is a good thing.
also, yeah, exactly. But also you have a lot of sunlight, many hours, maybe
Ah,
from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. So
wow.
that is very positive for the process, especially when you need to for the maturity of the fruit. You know.
Right, because the grape skins really develop those complex
Exactly.
flavors. They call it the
Exactly.
phenolics. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Exactly. So you have a lot of acidity because the low temperature, but at the same time you have a great grape because the sun, many hours of sun, so is very ripened and also with high acidity. So these wines are very elegant, very fresh, but with a lot of fruity notes. So it's very extreme, okay? Of course, all the climate conditions are very extreme, but it's possible. Why?
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
of the hours of sun they have there, because the
Right.
altitude, you know.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's true in the Patagonia here in Argentina we have different provinces that are producers in the south. We have water that is different in the Cuyo region close to Andes, to Andes mountains. Why? Because there is desert or semi-desert. So in the south we
Okay.
have water. So because we have water, we can use the water to avoid the freezing, the low temperatures and the damage to the grapes. So they have a very good combination. A
Yeah.
huge gap in temperature during day and night, many hours of sun during the day, so the fruit is okay. You have winds, so you don't have any kind of problems with
Right, because it dries out the grapes to
exactly,
prevent rot. Yeah.
exactly. And also, well, you have water, so you can prevent, uh, well, possible problems with the temperature with water. So it's a
That's
very good
great.
condition. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
difficult because it's far away of everything. You have logistic cost. Well, the productions are small in general, and that wines in Patagonia in general are expensive wines. And you are going to
Yeah.
buy those wines in restaurants, in very good restaurants, Michelin restaurants in Buenos Aires and all over the world in Latin America.
Oh, okay.
Because they produce small quantity but very high
Right.
quality.
Right. And have to ship a long way. So you also mentioned there are more than 10,000 grape varieties that
Yeah.
exist, I think, in Argentina or in the world.
No,
But
in
you
the
point
world, in the
in
world,
the
no,
world.
in the
Okay.
world.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a lot for one country.
No, in the world.
But you point out that only about 33 grapes account for half of all wine production globally. Now, you describe Torrontes, the grape Torrontes, as the most beautiful indigenous native grape of Argentina. I am a huge fan of this wine, but tell us what a Torrontes wine tastes like. It's always white wine, is it?
It's
Or
white
are
wine.
they
No, 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 it's white.
experimenting? Okay,
No,
it's always white.
white
Okay.
grape and white wine. Well, here in Argentina, we have many different grapes varieties. We have more than 150 different grape varieties that we produce. But the two that are the relevant or the flagship grapes here are in the case of red Malbec, that is not very
Yes.
common all over the world. 75% of the production is here, even when this is a French grape from Cahors. But here we produce the 75% of all the production worldwide. And the white wine, the white grape is Torrontés. That is local grape. It's the only one that is, we call the local grapes criollas. It's like native.
Okay.
But this is an interesting native because it's a good mix and a good grape to produce wines. And Torrontés has these characteristics. Is like you have fruits, you have flowers, you have fresh vegetables, and on the nose is like like you feel that the wine is going to be sweet, but it's not, because instead
Right.
it's dry. Of course, we have also sweet Torrontés, but what I mean is, it's an explosion in your nose. You have
Yes.
all
It's so aromatic.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
it's
very
incredible.
aromatic. But for the international taste, maybe it's too much aromatic. So this is the reason why I can say that around 80% of the production of Torrontés is for internal market, because we export Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay like many other wine countries, but Torrontés is more difficult to export because for many people or many consumers around the world it's very intense. For me, it's
Yes.
amazing, beautiful to drink alone, to drink on cocktails, because as you said, it's very aromatic. You have from jasmine to peach and, well, I don't know,
Yeah.
many different fruits and flowers and vegetables in just one wine. That is not
Yeah,
very
it's
common.
absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. I compare it to like Viognier or Gewürztraminer. Like it's the
Yeah.
really floral, even though it's its own thing, it's not exactly like, but they're kind of, I kind of think of them together sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you write that making a good white wine is harder than making a good red because whites are fermented without the skins and therefore more fragile and prone to oxidation. But most people think red wine is more serious and a more technical achievement. So, what is the single step, do you think, in white wine production that people don't think about but really determines the outcome, the quality of the wine?
Well, when the grapes arrive to the winery, and well, you need to control temperature and extraction and to try to avoid oxidation. I think that is the most critical part of the process. But if you try to explain to a consumer that, well, it is possible that the consumer is not going to understand much what you are talking about. But what I always said when I talk with consumers about white wines, uh, first I want to say this: in Argentina, it's very common to hear wine is red wine, whites are for girls. Okay,
Ah,
that is a very common phrase.
right.
So when I talk with someone that is sharing with me that thought, I always try to demonstrate that it's not. It's always happened on wine tastings. So in general, I have a very good white wine with me in my tastings to demonstrate that a white wine can be amazing, young or with more time on the bottle. It's not important, but I try to demonstrate why the combination, the flavors, the aromas, in many cases are maybe better than a red wine, a regular red wine. But technically, we all know that the oxidation part and when the grapes arrive to the winery, that technical part is the most important one.
It's the most
Oh,
important, yeah.
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 Then you can do surly or not, or do a fresh wine, or use oak or not. But
Right, right. And that is a good myth that you point out, how people,
yeah,
don't think of white wines as, but, when we think of Bordeaux, there's the 5 top wines of Bordeaux, and above them all is a white wine, Chateau Yquem. Now, it's a
yeah,
dessert wine, but it is a white wine.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's considered one of the best wines in the world. Now, one of the myths that I thought that was really fascinating I've never read this in another book. You explain that brut or brut,
Yeah,
B-R-U-T, on sparkling wine, extra brut, and demi-sec on sparkling wine labels refers to the amount of sugar in grams per liter added at the very end of the production in the expedition liquor or the dosage. It's not referring, those terms don't refer to the general dryness of the base wine. People assume it's describing the overall character of the wine or the sweetness. So, why do you think the wine industry has not bothered to communicate this more clearly? Because I've never heard it pointed out like you have, which
well,
is
it's,
great.
it's a very good question, because here, well, something else happened. If you think about brut, extra brut, people here believes that extra brut is better than brut because it's extra,
Right.
you know.
Extra. Yeah.
So they believe that description on the label, as you said, is about quality.
Mm.
Why the wine productions or the sparkling wine producers are not changing that. But I all the time when I talk about sparkling wines and try to share that, and it's incredible because each time I talk about that, people answer me, I didn't know. I believe that it
Yeah.
was about the quality of the wine. Extra brut is better than the other, and it's something that is funny, but this is about maybe Spanish because sec or demi-sec, that are the sweet ones, seco in Spanish is dry.
Ah, means
So
right.
then
Okay.
dry is dry.
Oh, dry,
Dry.
dry, dry.
So
Sorry. Yes.
the name of the name meaning the opposite in Spanish.
Right. Oh, that's got to be really confusing. Oh my
Sec
gosh.
and demi-sec, and it's sweet. And in Spanish, sec is dry, is seco.
Okay. Okay.
So it's
Oh my
very,
goodness.
very confusing. This is the reason why many producers here started to put on the label sweet, dulce.
Right. Okay. All right. Now, when you teach wine tasting courses, I love this comment from a student. He said the wine smells like my grandmother. So what was he getting at? How did you decode that?
Well, when I talk about, when I teach, we usually teach about the smell memory and how we discover the smells on wine. And I always say that you discover what you know. And
Yes.
I have a lot of stories similar to that one where somebody told me, well, it smells like my grandmother. And I try to think about that specific situation. And I remember in that case, for example, I asked, okay, your grandmother used some kind of perfume, flower perfume, because, well, connecting that with the wines that we were tasting. And he said, yeah, well, yes, it's true, maybe lavender. Well, what he recall about this specific situation, the smell, it was about the perfume. So, but in his mind was like, well, that was the smell of my grandmother.
Yeah.
So I just tried to decode that and explain to him, look, your memories, well, think your mind is thinking about that specific situation because you didn't have focus on the smell itself. But if you're
Sure.
feeling that, it's because you smell something and the smell is in your mind. So the important part is the smell is in your mind. We need to identify what the smell we are talking about. And I remember that in that case was because the perfume and the flower
That makes
aromas in
sense.
the perfume. But I have a
Yes.
lot of anecdotes about things like that because
Yeah, well, yeah, and you said another student said this wine smelled like sushi. So what were
sushi,
they
yeah,
getting
that
at?
was amazing because it was a very old wine,
Yeah.
15 years old, and well, of course, we know that there are some smells that are connected with the age or the aging, and we have some balsamics aromas there maybe. So I remember I asked this person, okay, you use a lot of soy sauce on your sushi? Ah, yes, I love it. I put the sushi in a bowl full of soy sauce. And of course, was the balsamic part, the smell that this person connect with the sushi. So in the
Yeah, that's
wine,
incredible.
we had what? Well, some balsamic notes, and in his or her mind, I don't remember, it was like, okay, this smells is something that I know, but I can't describe what. So I feel that when I am eating sushi. So
Sure.
it's very interesting how our minds work.
Yeah, the connection between memory and
Exactly,
aroma
the
is so
aroma.
powerful. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. Now let's go back to Torrontes. You paired it with empanadas,
Empanadas.
and yeah, and you said it should not work because meat should ask for a more powerful wine, and yet it worked perfectly. Why did it work?
Because it's what we usually call regional pairing. If the
Okay.
two products are from the same place with elements that are from that place, in general work together. We have some rules about wine pairing, but sometimes When we are talking about regional pairings, that rules is like, okay, this is not like in the rule, but it's working perfectly well. And well,
Sure.
that is the case of torrontés, meat empanadas, because that is something very typical in the north of Argentina, where the torrontés is the main grape variety.
Okay. They say in English, what grows together goes together.
Exactly, exactly.
Yes,
That is
yes.
the idea.
Yeah. And you even describe molecular pairing where
Mm,
food are matched because they share aromatic
mm,
molecules. And you mentioned white chocolate with caviar and
mm,
strawberries with coriander as examples.
mm-hmm.
Tell me more about that. What was going on with the pairings with all of those different, very
Well,
different
hmm.
aromas?
In
Yeah.
that case, well, it's more about the connection between not only aromas, also flavors. Well, you know
Hmm.
that we have the complementary pairing, the regional pairing, the contrast pairing, and in some new books and trainings, you are going to find this molecular pairing that is not the idea, because if you in your mind white chocolate and caviar is not something that is going to be very well. You imagine
Right.
chocolate and caviar is not a good fit, but these two elements share some components and aromas and flavors, and this is the reason why some chefs that are still doing molecular food and plates, they combine that flavors and aromas to combine different products. So,
Wow. Okay.
and it's innovation. I mean, and
Yeah.
it's like new possibilities to do some pairings.
Sure.
It's something that is not very common, but it's something that happens. So this is the reason why I
Yeah.
describe it on the book like one option. But you know, the most common options are contrast or complementary between wine and food, or also regional pairings.
Sure, sure. Now, you have a fascinating story about a woman who was such a passionate wine collector. She could no longer fit her shoes in her closet. She had so many bottles. She couldn't clean under her bed. And eventually she had to move her car out of her garage
Yeah,
because she was keeping all her more bottles in there.
yeah.
Um, so when you finally saw her collection, what was the first thing you suggested to her other than get therapy, woman?
Yeah.
Like that
Well,
was she just? I guess she was just passionate. She was. It doesn't sound like she was a hoarder of other things,
no,
but
no, 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 no,
that,
no.
yeah,
Yeah, well, to tell you the truth, she's a friend of mine, and she asked me for
okay,
help
yeah,
because she was studying to be sommelier, and she started to buy many things, and go to events, and receive products, and uh, well, at some moment they have all those boxes everywhere on her house. So
yes,
what I did for her was to do a classification. I mean, this is not to age. This is not something that makes sense to have here. This is for drinking now. This is for a present. And we did some
right,
kind of organization. And of course, I suggest her to have a cava, a wine fridge specifically for
right,
wines, and we did this selection, and I did a lot of cleanup, because you know when you start, and that was the case, uh, you buy and you have many different things, and you don't have a clear understanding of what is worthy to have there and to
sure,
wait, and what is not, and you have a mix, and in some cases some wines, well, already was very over on their lives, because they
yes,
were very old, and the wine was a young wine. So basically, I did cleaning with her, I did some classification, I suggest her, well, if you want to have wines, okay, we cannot keep having your storage under your bed, because if you want to have this wine for 5 years, 10 years, whatever, or even 1 year, you need to have it in the correct place.
right,
But yeah,
yeah,
it's something that happen a lot. Eh? Also, me at the beginning, I have a lot of boxes and things everywhere at home. At some moment, of course, I have my own cavas here, my own wine fridge here. I have a room with the cooler and everything. But at the beginning, I was also a mess. Fortunately, I organized during these years. I had helped a lot of people to organize their own mess because sometimes when you are very passionate and you are in the beginnings, well, you buy everything.
That's true. You should have a makeover show, a seller makeover show, and
Yeah,
hopefully
why
your friend,
not?
hopefully your friend got her shoes back into her
Yeah,
closet.
right.
But you make a really interesting point too about the way wine ages or not. You draw a distinction between wine changing with age and a wine improving, and you write wine mutates;
Yeah,
it doesn't improve.
exactly.
So explain a little bit about that because we have this, a lot of people have a false misconception that, oh, I should just wait 5 years for any wine I buy. Like, what's happening?
It's also a problem in the communication. Why? Because, well, I know that they are young wines and others for aging, like in the case of Argentina, Gran Reserva, Reserva, with specific characteristics based on the local law. But well, Reserva is more or less 4 or 5 years. Grand Reserva could be 10, 15 or more. It depends on the wine. In some cases, that some classic wines are for aging, so you can have it 20, 25 years. We have that kind of wineries here as well. Just Asian wines. But we know when you go to the supermarket or the winery, well, in the winery maybe somebody can assist you. But
Sure.
I don't know if you know, but nowadays the 75% of wine is
Yes.
buying on supermarket. So
Oh, wow.
that means that
That makes sense.
yeah, most of the people is buying wines in supermarkets.
Yes.
When you go to the supermarket, of course, in US it's different than here. We have 98% is Argentinian wines. We don't have wines from other places. But I know US, I've been there many times and also live there, and you have wines from different countries. You have, of course, the North America wines, but you have from Italy, from Spain, from France, etc., etc. Here
Sure.
you have only Argentinian wines. But in both cases, I think in your case and in the North American case is even worse. Because in the Argentinian case, all the labels are in Spanish. We are a new world, so we have the grape, the year, and some additional information like Reserva and Gran Reserva. And even when you have that information on the label, for consumers in general, it's very difficult to understand if this wine is ready to drink or if this wine I need to storage and age a little longer or not. In general, the wines that we sell here are all ready to drink, but in some cases, well, you can have it on your fridge on your wine fridge for I don't know 2, 3, 4 years. But it's very
Sure.
difficult. If you are a consumer, you go to the supermarket and you find a huge wall full of wines, and maybe you know that Malbec is a grape, or you
Yes.
hear about Cabernet Sauvignon. So this is the reason why most of the people believe this phrase that all the wines improve with time, because everybody hear that and believe that it's the same for all the wines. And I have some cases where people, for example, have a wine from when, well, they bought a wine when one of their kids was born, and 15 or 18 years later, they want to open that wine like part of the 18 party,
Sure.
but the wine they bought, it was just a young wine at that moment, and they didn't know.
Right.
It happened a lot. I have this wine when my kid born 15 years ago. I don't know. What do you think? I open it or not? It's very difficult, but I have to see it.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
drinkable. For sure,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
drinkable at all.
No.
But
Yeah.
what I want to say is it's very complex for the consumers in general to do some kind of differentiation. So This is the reason why they believe all the wines are the same, and all the wines can be can be aging or are wines for aging.
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of U.S. and other Latin American countries, I think I said that I think it's worse because you have your local wines, but also you have wines, I don't know, for France with all the denominations, from Spain with all the denominations. And what means Gran Reserva in Spain is totally different than Gran Reserva here in Argentina or in Chile.
Okay,
Because
right.
the description and the requirements are totally different. So I imagine a consumer in front of all those bottles from different countries with labels on different languages and with words that they don't understand. So all our wines, I can buy it and drink it, or I can buy it and put it on the under the bed for
Yeah.
a couple of years. They don't
Yeah.
understand the
The
difference.
confusion.
Yeah, the
Yeah, for
confusion is
sure.
big.
Now, when it comes to Argentina, it's the seventh largest wine producer globally, the 10th largest exporter in the world, selling to over 100 markets. You also advise Coviar, the body that shapes the country's wine identity internationally. What's the single biggest misconception about Argentine wine that you like to correct when you're talking to people from other countries?
That we only produce Malbec.
Ah, right. Okay. Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's a misconception, but at the same time, it's a reality because a huge part of our exportations are Malbec because it's a great variety that no one else have. So
Yes.
okay, Malbec is from Argentina. Argentina is Malbec. So it's
Right.
tricky because everyone's want to import something different because they already have Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc or Merlot or Chardonnay. So Argentina is Malbec. That is, for me, is a misconception because we have great wines in all the great varieties and also we have amazing blends. But I think that is, a mix between what the importers need and what we produce and which is the differentiator with other wine countries. It's a mix.
Sure, sure. And what do you think Argentina needs to do better as a wine industry going forward in the future?
I usually do a comparison that my other Argentine people sometimes feel that it's unjusted, but in the case of Chile, I don't know if you are familiar with Chile. Their exports are under the country brand, Marca
Okay.
País. So there
Okay.
is one group and organization doing all the negotiations and exportation, not only about wine, about many other products. But it's like
Okay.
this is the country presenting their products to the world. So if we
Right.
talk specifically about wines, that is amazing because the Chile is the same than Argentina. A lot of wineries, big, small, medium, different regions, blah blah blah. So
Sure.
in the case of Argentina, we have that variety of wineries, brands, regions, etc. But each of them need to do their own processes to export.
Okay.
So when you go around the world and go to the supermarket, you are going to find the same 5, 6 brands, nothing else. Why?
The big
The
ones.
big
Yeah.
ones.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have amazing wines in Patagonia. We have amazing wines in the north of the country. We have many different kind of regions, weathers, etc.
Right.
But
Right.
for
Okay.
many of them, it's impossible to show their products to the world because
Yes.
maybe it's a family winery, and a
Sure.
small one. So something that I think that I believe Chile is a great success case on that. I think that something that I believe that Argentina needs to do, and also I
Right.
talk with the COVIAR, Confederación Vitivinícola here in Argentina, and other organizations that are part of the industry here. I always talk with them about this because it's not only about produce and do great quality wines, produce great quality wines. It's also about to present the Argentina brand, the country brand, in a different way to the world.
Right.
And I think that is something that is changing slowly,
Huh?
but it's changing, and it's something that can give Argentina more visibility, possibilities when we try to sell wines all over the world.
Sure. And you brought up Chile. So, just so for people who may not be as familiar with the two countries geographically, you're kind of separated by the Andes. Chile is on the Pacific Ocean, you're inland. But Argentina is much bigger geographically and production wise in terms of, like, how would you compare them roughly? I know
well,
it'll change each year.
It's totally different because even when
Yeah.
the Andes is, well, because the Andes is in the middle, all
Yes.
the conditions are totally different. They have
Right.
maritime climate, we have continental climate in most of the regions. So, as I
Sure.
said, meanwhile, Mendoza is a semi desert. In the other side of the Andes, they have a lot of humidity and rains, etc.
Yes.
So, the wines
Yes.
are totally different. I believe that in general in Chile they have a more classic style, and that is the kind of wine they export to the world. And they also have the Carmener, that is their flagship grape.
Yes.
But
But in terms of production size,
no,
is
we are
does
much bigger than them. No.
like 5 times, 10 times bigger than Chile, or
Exactly
okay,
the name, but
it's
I
okay.
can say is bigger.
Bigger, definitely, and
Yeah.
geographically bigger. So yeah.
Yeah, in
Oh,
terms of
beautiful
production
countries.
as well.
Yes, yes. Okay, so this past November, you became the first Spanish-speaking person in the history to win the IWSC Wine Communicator of the Year award. Congratulations, heartily deserved. It's previously only held by communicators in England, Australia, Scotland, the U.S., Hong Kong, and Germany. And the judges described you as bringing new voices into the global wine conversation. I want to know what you did in the first 24 hours after winning that. How did you celebrate? Or did you just go to sleep because you were like tired from the time zones?
No, first I want to say that you are a great communication as well.
Thank you.
Thanks to bring this
Thank
to
you.
the conversation. Well, it was a shock. It was a surprise, as you said. Well, we are talking in English. I usually work in English in my daily life. We don't speak perfectly well, but I do my
You
best.
speak very well. Way better than my Spanish.
So the first thing was a surprise and a shock because, as you mentioned, in the past, well, the International Wine and Spirits competition is based in London, so many of the judges only speak English. So it was like, okay, they finally look for something different, and that was okay. Now a new voice in terms of not only in terms of the way in which I communicate, also there is a huge Spanish-speaking market, not only in Latin America. Also, you have Spain, and there are also a lot of Spanish-speaking all over the world. So it was like, okay, they realize there are other languages that are important, and people is talking about wine. Also, the other thing that I thought is, well, I am from Argentina, and this is a wine country, a very important one. But in general, in these international meetings, congress events, people usually talk about Europe, North America, and like Argentina, South Africa, Australia, all these are like emerging markets, and we are a huge market. So I was like, well, okay, Argentina is there now. It was a surprise. I have been working for many years. I do many things, as you mentioned it, regarding the wine industry. And for me, it was like, well, that sensation when you feel, okay, all these things that I have been doing, well,
Worthwhile.
exactly.
Yep.
That was the
Yes.
sensation that I had, and I also I did a lot of interviews in the media here in Argentina because of that, because wine is very important in our culture, and
Yes.
we have a lot of sections, not only mine, with a lot of journalists in newspaper, TV, radio, online, streamings, people talking about beverage in general. So, yeah, wine is
Right,
one
right.
is very important. So it was like, hey, look, somebody of the team was recognized internationally. So
Yeah,
I feel very
absolutely.
proud. I'm very happy
Oh, you
when that
should be, Sal.
happened.
You should be. And does this change what you're doing this year? Like, are you contributing articles to the publication like Club Inologique or doing more workshops with the IWSC?
Well, so far, I want to be very honest, the most important thing was to be in Italy this year. I
Okay,
did a master class about Barolo and Barbaresco in English.
okay.
I had, well, it was part of the award, but it was, a lot of work because I had to start. Imagine the situation. Somebody from Argentina talking about two Italian regions, very well known and important, in English to
Right.
Italian people.
Wow.
80% of the people on the room were Italians. So
Okay. Good for you.
it was a challenge.
My goodness.
Yeah, and
Yes.
also we have 7 wines for wine tasting during the master class, and I was very happy because the 7 producers were there.
Oh,
And
terrific.
yeah, they share a lot of things, and it was amazing because, well, my master class was like my personality. So I did
Yes.
jokes and I talk with people. I ask them questions, and something. This is something that I believe is the difference between me and other communicators. Maybe I'm trying to be very natural when I am talking about wine because we are not talking about, I don't know, medicines.
Sure.
So we're talking about wine, even when if we need to talk technically, we don't need to be very solemn and very dark in terms of the way in which we talk. And it was funny because a lot of people after the master class told me that, oh, it was very funny and very nice and enjoyed a
That's
lot,
good.
and it was like, okay, that's the style.
That's great. Yeah.
So that was the main thing that I did with IWSC so far. But locally, well, I had the opportunity to do some more things with local wineries after the award. It was very helpful in that sense. I mean,
Sure.
most people realize, oh, okay, this girl that I know that is also Argentinian, maybe she's doing something well. So,
No, it's a good validation
yeah,
for
exactly.
sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Just a few other questions
Mm-hmm.
before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Maybe tell us about your favorite childhood food and what you would pair with it as a wine today.
Well, it's funny because when I saw that question that you sent me in advance, it's my favorite food in my childhood is something that here we call puchero.
Puchero.
Puchero. Puchero is basically a pot where you have vegetables, meat, and you leave it there for many hours cooking. And you
Okay.
have corn, potatoes, well, many different kind of vegetables, also different kind of meat, and it's there for some hours, and it's a mix between a soup and some I don't know.
Okay.
It's that. It's very simple. It's something very common
Okay.
here. And also,
Sure.
is in Spain, it's called olla podrida because it's all the things that you have on the fridge. You put it on the pot and you cook
Ah,
it. So
okay.
it's like some cultural thing that it was very common on here when I was a child, and well, nowadays also is something that you, especially in some holidays, the Independence Day, that kind of holidays is something that is very connected with the culture and is very nice.
Yes. That's
Another question
great.
was about today.
And then what would you pair with it? What
Ah,
kind of wine would you pair with it?
oh, white wine. When you have something
White
so
wine.
strong and hot and with a lot of
Yes.
fat on it, you need something more refreshing.
Something with
Yeah,
acidity to cut through
acidity.
the
Yeah,
richness.
exactly.
Yes. Absolutely. Oh, that's fantastic. This has been great, Saul. As we wrap up our conversation, is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to mention?
Well, maybe something something that, well, this week I had another conversation with people that is starting to study sommelier, and they asked me my secret, you know? And
Yes.
my answer was like, well, you need to study, you need to be very perseverant, and you need to keep learning all the time. We started our conversation with a description of my career life, and I have 3 degrees, and after that I studied to be sommelier and to be bartender, and now, well, I did a WSET 3, and now I am studying to do test of the Court of Master Sommelier. So it's
Okay.
something that, because when people see the awards, they say, oh, she's very lucky.
Uh,
Well, the behind the scenes, always,
mm,
at least that is my philosophy.
the
Um,
effort. The
yes,
harder you work, the luckier you get.
exactly. To
Yes.
study, to learn, to whatever you decide to do, but keep moving, keep learning all the
Yes.
time. And well, you see me talking so clear or relaxed, but behind all of that, or behind any of my videos or my book or what I do in media, is a lot of research. When I want to talk
Yes.
about a specific thing, whatever, wine or whiskey or gin or whatever it is, I always do a research, refresh things, stories. I think that is the interesting part. You keep learning, you
Yeah.
keep your mind open. So that is something I always want to share. It's not only about the words. It's also about the effort, as you said, and to keep learning and to study and to research and to be interested about, well, how I can do this better.
Yeah.
And I am doing that all the time.
Absolutely. You certainly are, Saul. Now, remind us again where we can get in touch with you and find your book online, all of the connections, which we'll also put in the show notes.
Yes. Well, in social media, where you are going to find me as Soy Sommelier. You are going to find me on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, and my book is available so far in Spanish in the Penguin Random House page as ebook. So, well, you can find me there and send me a message. And it will be in English because I can answer.
Yes, you can. You certainly can. You're very talented. So, thank you so much, Saul. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope the next time we can raise a glass together in
I
person.
hope so. I hope so.
That
Very
would be
soon.
fun. Yes, absolutely. So I'll say goodbye. Don't log off just yet,
Yeah.
but thank you so much for spending time with us today. This was fabulous.
Thank you very much, because the interview
Okay.
and your time.
All right. Cheers.